Hey guys, Lord Naren White here, the Holy Ghost of the One True God. Back with you with the next video in my series, reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. Without further ado, returning to The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn as read by Lord Naren White. So clear out, he says, and you can tell Mr. Foster whatever you want to. Maybe you can get him to believe that Jim is your black. Some idiots don't require documents. Leastwise, I've heard there's such down south here. And when you tell him the handbill and the reward's bogus, maybe he'll believe you when you explain to him what the idea was for getting him out. Go, long now, and tell him anything you want to. But mind you don't work your jaw any between here and there. So I left and struck for the back country. I didn't look around, but I kind of felt like he was watching me. But I knowed I could tire him out at that. I went straight out in the country as much as a mile before I stopped. Then I doubled back through the woods towards Phelps. I reckoned I better start in on my plan straight off without fooling around, because I wanted to stop Jim's mouth till these fellows could get away. I didn't want no trouble with their kind. I'd seen all I wanted to of them and wanted to get entirely shut of them. Chapter 32. When I got there, it was all still and Sunday-like, and too hot and sunshiny. The hands was gone to the fields, and there was them kind of faint dronings of bugs and flies in the air that makes it seem so lonesome, like everybody's dead and gone, and if a breeze fans along and quivers the leaves, it makes you feel mournful, because you feel like it's spirits whispering, spirits that's been dead ever so many years, and you always think they're talking about you. As a general thing, it makes a body wish he was dead, too, and done with it all. Phelps was one of those little one-horse cotton plantations, and they all look alike. A rail fence round a 2-acre yard, a stile made out of logs sawed off and upended in steps, like barrels of a different length, to climb over the fence with, and for the women to stand on when they are going to jump on to a horse, some sickly grass patches in the big yard, but mostly it was bare and smooth, like an old hat with the nap rubbed off, big double log house for the white folks, hewed logs with the chinks stopped up with mud or mortar, and these mud stripes been whitewashed some time or another, round log kitchen, with a big, broad, open but roofed passage joining it to the house, log smoke house back of the kitchen, 3 little log black cabins in a row to the other side the smokehouse, one little hut all by itself away down against the back fence, and some outbuildings down a piece the other side, ash hopper and big kettle to boil soap in by the little hut, bench by the kitchen door with bucket of water and a gourd, hound asleep there in the sun, more hounds asleep round about it, about 3 shade trees away off in a corner, some currant bushes and gooseberry bushes in one place by the fence. Outside of the fence a garden and watermelon patch, then the cotton fields begins, and after the field the woods. I went around and clumb up over the back stile by the ash hopper and started for the kitchen. When I got a little ways I heard the dim hum of a spinning wheel wailing along up and singing along down again, and then I knowed for certain I wished I was dead, for that is the lonesomest sound in the whole world. I went right along, not fixing up any particular plan, but just trusting to Providence to put the right words in my mouth when the time come, for I'd noticed that Providence always did put the right words in my mouth if I left it alone. When I got halfway, the first one hound and then another got up and they went from me. And of course I stopped and faced them, and kept still. And such another pow-wow as they made, in a quarter of a minute. I was a kind of a hub of a wheel, as you may say, spokes made out of dogs, circle of 15 of them packed together around me, with their necks and noses stretched up towards me, a barking and howling, and more a coming. You could see them smiling over fences and around corners from everywhere. A black woman come tearing out of the kitchen with a rolling pin in her hand, singing out, "Begone, you Tige, you Spot, begone, sir!" And she fetched first one and then another one of them a clip and sent them howling. And then the rest followed, and the next second half of them come back, wagging their tails around me, and making friends with me. There ain't no harm in a hound, nohow. And behind the woman comes a little black girl and two little black boys without anything on but tow linen shirts, and they hung on to their mother's gown and peeped out from behind her at me, bashful the way they always do. And here comes the white woman running from the house, about 45 or 50-year-old, bareheaded, and her spinning stick in her hand. And behind her comes her little white children, acting the same way the little blacks was going. She was smiling all over so she could hardly stand, and says, "It's you, at last, ain't it?" I out with a "Yes'm," before I thought. She grabbed me and hugged me tight, then gripped me by both hands and shook, and the tears come in her eyes and run down over, and she couldn't seem to hug and shake enough, and kept saying, "You don't look as much like your mother as I reckoned you would, but law sakes, I don't care for that. I'm so glad to see you. Dear, it does seem like I could eat you up. Children, it's your cousin Tom. Tell him howdy." But they ducked their heads and put their fingers in their mouths and hid behind her, so she run on. "Liz, hurry up and get him a hot breakfast right away, or did you get your breakfast on the boat?" I said I had got it on the boat, so then she started for the house, leading me by the hand, and the children tagging after. When we got there, she set me down in a splint-bottomed chair and set herself down on a little low stool in front of me, holding both of my hands, and says, "Now I can have a good look at you, and, laws a me, I've been hungry for it many a time, all these long years, and it's come at last. We've been expecting a couple of days and more. What kept you boat get aground?" "Yes'm," she. "Don't say yes'm, say Aunt Sally. Where'd she get aground?" I didn't rightly know what to say, because I didn't know whether the boat would be coming up the river or down. But I go a good deal on instinct, and my instinct said she would be coming up from down towards Orleans. That didn't help me much, though, for I didn't know the names of bars down that way. I see I'd got to invent a bar or forget the name of the one we got aground on, or now I struck an idea and fetched it down. "It weren't the grounding that didn't keep us back but a little. We blowed out a cylinder head." "Good gracious. Anybody hurt?" "No'm. Killed a black." "Well, it's lucky, because sometimes people do get hurt. 2 years ago, last Christmas, your Uncle Silas was coming up from New Orleans on the old Lally Rook, and she blowed out a cylinder head, and it crippled a man. And I think he died afterwards. He was a Baptist. Your Uncle Silas knowed a family in Baton Rouge that knowed his people very well. Yes, I remember now, he did die. Mortification was set in, and they had to amputate him, but it did save him. Yes, it was mortification, that was it. He turned blue all over, and died in the hope of a glorious resurrection. They say he was a sight to look at. Your uncle's been up to the town every day to fetch you, and he's gone again, not more than an hour ago. He'll be back any minute now. You must have met him on the road, didn't you? Oldish man with a... No, I didn't see nobody, Aunt Sally. The boat landed just at daylight, and I left my baggage on the wharf boat and went looking around the town and out a piece in the country to put in the time and not get here too soon, and so I come down the back way." "Who'd you give the baggage to?" "Nobody." "Why, child, it'll be stole. Not where I hid it, I reckon it won't," I says. "How'd you get your breakfast so early on the boat?" It was kinder thin ice, but I says, "The captain see me standing around, and told me I better have something to eat before I went ashore. So he took me in the Texas to the officer's lunch, and gave me all I wanted." I was getting so uneasy I couldn't listen good. I had my mind on the children all the time. I wanted to get them out to one side and pump them a little, and find out who I was. But I couldn't get no show. Mrs. Phelps kept it up and run on so. Pretty soon she made the cold chill streak all down my back, because she says, "But here we're running on this way, and you ain't told me a word about Sis nor any of 'em. Now I'll rest my works a little, and you start up yourn. Just tell me everything. Tell me all about 'em, all every one of 'em, and how they are, and what they're doing, and what they told you to tell me, and every last thing you can think of." We'll go ahead and stop there for this week. As usual, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe, as it greatly helps the channel. Light be with you all. Take care, and thanks again.